Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to the M4J network here on OpenTTD. Today, we are back to roads. So last week, or last time actually, I'll come to last week in a second. Last time out, we built the rest of the Gardcity Orbital, and we also started getting some coach services running. Now, last week there was supposed to be an episode. I was meant to pre-record an episode, and then have that scheduled and ready to go, because I was away from home last week. I was away for the full week. However, circumstances got in the way, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get a video done in time. And I'm pretty sure that I was pretty sure that I had mentioned it on the Discord, but then I went back and checked, and I hadn't. So apologies for that. Some other news in my life, actually. I'll be writing a blog post on this in the not too distant future, but I have a new job. So that meant that even last week I couldn't spend as much time on Discord as I normally would, and I didn't spend as much time talking to people, and I think that's one of the reasons why I forgot to put out a message saying no video last week. So I do apologize for that. I'm very clutter-brained at the moment, starting to get things back in order, and yeah, there's a video this week, and that's the main thing. So this week we are extending on from what we did last time, and we are building what I'm currently calling, it's the M1/Great North Road. So the first part of it is the M1. I wanted to call it the M4J one, but that really doesn't mean anything. And also, just so you know, this has no links whatsoever to the real life M1 in the UK. I do not like the M1 in the UK. I just want to make that clear. In terms of where it goes, kind of helpful, but in terms of, like, it's just awful to drive on. The road surface is terrible, the queuing is awful, the fact that, it's so-called smart motorway, but it's one of the dumbest motorways I've ever seen. It's not great. I don't enjoy it. I always pray for the M6 turn off as soon as I get on it, pretty much, or wherever it is I'm going. Anyway, not to detract from this episode. This is the M1, and it goes from the Gardcity Orbital, basically the northeastern corner of the Gardcity Orbital, and it runs to just outside. In fact, I have the game open, so let me go and check that. So it starts at junction 29, I think that says, of the Gardcity Orbital, which has now been extended slightly. I can't remember if I did this on camera or not. I think I do. I built an all-new junction that links up to the town of Bunhattan, which is where the overground runs to, which is kind of nice. And it runs through, I think it's 6, 7, I'm counting them as I go along, 8, 9 junctions. Well, I'm saying that, it seems to jump straight from 7 to 9, but then there was one I wanted to build anyway, so maybe that's what I left in. Anyway, there are technically 9 junctions. And then we reach Prardstone Bay, and at Prardstone Bay, it turns into an A road called the Great North Road, and then runs continuously from there to Befingway. The first phase that you'll see me build in the first part of this episode runs only as far as Warnbridge Airport, which is junction 4 of the M1. From there, we then extend eastwards to Befingway. Now, it's only a motorway as far as Prardstone Bay. As soon as it reaches Prardstone Bay, it turns into an A road, so basically a dual carriageway. So here in the UK, we've got multiple different types of road these days. You've got normal, like B roads, which they're 60 miles an hour. They tend to be like, not country lanes, but they're not like super duper highway type roads either. It's normally one lane in each direction. Nothing between the lanes either, no central reservation or anything like that. Then you've got A roads that are also single lane. So for example, the A10, which I've driven on a lot in my life, that's all sorts. We'll come on to how roads transition as well throughout their journey. Then you've got dual carriageway, but not necessarily national speed limit, which here is 70 miles per hour in the UK on dual carriageways, and 60 miles per hour on single lane roads. But you do have dual carriageways where the speed limit might be 40, it might be 50, it might be 60. Some cases, rare cases, it might be 30. But Stevenage, which is near where I live, is full of dual carriageways. They're all 40 to 50 miles per hour. Really slow when you've got somewhere to be in a hurry. Believe me, I should know. I'm always in a hurry. And then you've got dual carriageways at national speed limit, which is 70 miles per hour, as I said. And then you've got motorways, which are also 70 miles per hour. And I wouldn't know these days what the difference is between a motorway and a dual carriageway where the speed limit on both is 70 miles per hour. And I'll tell you why that is in a second. But then you've also got smart motorways, which are things like the M25 now. Most of it is a smart motorway. And it's kind of, they do more traffic control. They've got these huge gantries above. Sometimes the hard shoulder, which is the escape lane, should we say, on the left-hand side of the road. That's used as an additional lane during peak hours. And rush hour and things like that. And rush hour is the most misleading name in the world as well. It lasts for about 4 hours. It should be called the rush hours. A bit like how many films there were. There were 4 rush hour films, weren't there? I think so. Anyway. The smart motorways, some of them are fine, some of them are not so fine. And then there's the exceptions that prove the rule, shall we say. So where I live near the A1. Now the A1, when it runs through the majority of Hertfordshire, in fact, from the junction with the M25 up as far as Peterborough, I believe, maybe even further north than that, it is technically considered a motorway, even though it is an A road. It's actually called the A1, open brackets, M, close brackets. So it's the A1, it's an A road, but it's been built to motorway standards. It uses smart motorways, for example, specifically through places like Hatfield Tunnel. It's basically a motorway, and that's where the line gets blurred. What is an A road these days and what is a motorway? What is a dual carriageway and what is a motorway in terms of their standards? And I thought it was to do with, central reservations, runoff areas, things like that. But I was driving along the M2 the other day, and that doesn't have anything that I would consider would make it a motorway, and it felt like an A road. It felt like a dual carriageway. And in fact, the M2 is a really strange one because it comes out of London. For those of you who don't know, the M2 is the A2 through the Blackwall Tunnel. Then it reaches the M25 and it becomes the M2 because all A roads, when they reach the M25, they graduate and become motorways. Then it runs as the M2 for like 50, 60 miles. And then the A2 actually branches off the M2, which really confused me first time I drove that. And then the M2 continues for like another 20, 30 miles and then it just stops. It literally just turns into an A road. And it's not like that you get to a roundabout or something like that. It's literally you have a motorway junction and then on the other side of it, bam, you're on an A road. And it's the A259, I want to say, or 258. I can't remember now. I drove it for the first time the other day. And yeah, just confused, really confused. And also the A1, as it runs further north, it constantly switches between a motorway and a dual carriageway, and then at some point it just turns into a single lane A road, one lane in each direction. The A1 is actually the Great North Road, the majority of it, or at least its original route. It's been rerouted quite a few times. Wow, words are hard. Specifically through Hatfield, it's been rerouted multiple times. So we now have the Hatfield Tunnel that runs underneath most of Hatfield, if not all of it. And then where the old A1 used to run is now the A1001 because, I mean, at least it's got ones in it, I suppose. There's also, so there used to be a motorway called the M10 near me that's now part of the A414. And that's the bit where the A414 straddles the M1. You might have seen that if you drive past Hemel Hempstead. So those of you who don't live in the UK, I know it sounds like I'm making up words right now, but I can assure you there is a town called Hemel Hempstead. It's actually where, if you're a golf fan, I believe that's where Ian Poulter's from, Hemel. Anyway, I'm really getting distracted. So roads in the UK are very, very confusing. I wanted to recreate that, and specifically the Great North Road, because that's one that's pretty close to my heart because it's near where I live. And in fact, parts of the Great North Road, there's a railway bridge that used to cross over the East Coast Main Line in the centre of Hatfield that collapsed. No one was hurt, don't worry. I think it collapsed overnight. This was many, many years ago as well, I think before I was born. And that used to be the Great North Road. But then after the bridge collapsed, they didn't replace it because they had other bridges around it that they used instead. And the Great North Road was severed there. It also runs down through Potter's Bar and places like that. And again, yes, there is a town called Potter's Bar in the UK, I know. And then, yeah, onwards. So the A1 is now the main route between London and Edinburgh. The M1 connects up to the A1 just south of Newcastle, I think, or somewhere between might be around Middlesbrough actually. And again, I drove up the A1 a couple of years ago now. I'm trying to remember where the junction was. But the M1 is kind of like the Midlands-ish, more Midlands-ish route. And then it after the M6, it kind of starts to turn east again, and then it joins up to the A1 and becomes the A1 because, 1 plus 1 equals 1. And then it carries on running up north to Edinburgh. And that's what this is. So, as I said before, this is the Great North Road / M1. It's the first motorway that isn't the Gardcity Orbital, so I thought I'd give it the M1 moniker, even though, again, it's not named after the actual M1. And then the Great North Road, it was always going to be called the Great North Road. In fact, that is the name of this episode. But because it runs as a motorway for the majority of the beginning of its journey, I thought I would, call it the M1, and then it turns into the Great North Road. It makes sense in my head. It should make sense in terms of the lore of the map. And it should make sense in terms of realism as well. So, the reason I wanted the first bit to be motorways, because the Gardcity Orbital is a major arterial route, should we say. Although, technically, it's not arterial, because it doesn't... it's the main circular road of Gardcity, let's call it that. And then all these other motorways that we connected to it, in the original project and in the project we finished 2 weeks ago, right now, a lot of them don't really run anywhere. The only one that had somewhere to go to was the Wenfingfield and Great Winfield roads. And I wanted to change that. And I was looking around the orbital to see which roads I would want to build first. And I saw that there was this perfect junction that pointed directly north. And I thought, why not take that and turn it into a road that runs right across the northern part of the map? And the idea eventually is to run it all the way across to Gronwell and places like that. We're not quite going to go as crazy as having all 4 corners of the map connected by motorways as well as railways, but there are going to be a lot more A roads and B roads built across the network. The idea is to eventually have every single town connected by road, even if no vehicles actually use these roads. Just, again, for realism, if people want to support me on Patreon, become a franchise holder, and then realise that there aren't any roads connecting their town, that's going to be a bit disappointing if they want to run a bus company. I should also say that bus companies and coach companies are on the table. So we've got Gardcity Coaches right now that operate out of Gard Lake. And in fact, I do add an additional service using this new road. I do that off camera though, so you don't see it today. And I wanted to just put more options on the table. Likewise with airports, I'm actually going to start building more airports in the future. The waterways, I still want to connect the Grand Canal, or at least build some kind of water system between Gardcity and Barcity, and have maybe like cruise ships or cargo ships or something. I'm a little less concerned now. In fact, I have 2 things to say about finances. I'm a little less concerned about losing money now because I actually found the problem. Some point between me not knowing what the problem was and me discovering the problem, JGR actually added some extra features into the cheat menu. And one of them was, let me get it up on my screen, inflation cost factor and inflation income factor. So I remember saying a couple of years ago now that the Lieutenant Joker patch, there was some issue to do with inflation. And apparently it was a known issue, but there wasn't a fix for it at the time. The problem, as it turns out, is right now both of my inflations are set to 10,000. I might actually lower that even more. I did that as a test. When I found out what the problem was, my inflation was set to nearly 1 million. And that was the cost factor. The income factor, I believe, was still 10,000. I don't remember changing that one. So that means that I was basically spending 1 million times more on things than I should have been. Or I think that's how it works. Maybe it doesn't. But I was spending far, far more on running costs, purchase costs, maintenance, all sorts of things than I should have been. And because of that, my company was hemorrhaging money. And it was only because I used the money cheat so often when I had the Joker patch, just so the company would stay afloat overnight, let's be honest. That is the only reason why this company has survived this long. If it wasn't for that, I would have gone bust, probably a year ago real time. So I'm really glad that feature was added, and I'm really glad I was able to fix the problem. But at the same time, I feel like it's held me back a lot. And some of my previous episodes, like the airport episodes, the aircraft episodes, the airline episode, whatever you want to call it, a lot of that was hampered by cost factor. I didn't want to build expensive aircraft that could run long distances. And because of that, I feel like it's been a bit botched. You know, the airlines that I've got currently aren't really that good. Let's be honest. So now I can actually go back and change that. Likewise with ships, I can actually go back and add more passenger ships. I can finally do that cruise liner between Gardcity and Morningpool Falls, for example. Something else I was going to mention very quickly. Oh yeah, the helicopters that I've got running around Gardcity. I've actually changed those now. They're Zeppelins I'm using. Because I realised the helicopters I was using, they were the only ones that had the range, that weren't airships. But they aren't released until, I think it's like 2000 and something, and this network is supposed to take place in the like 94, 95 period. So that had to get changed. So they are just airships right now. I think the name of the company is still Gardcity Airways, but they use airships. That's fine. It's not totally unrealistic. Stranger things have happened. The other thing I want to talk about with finances is a known issue in the game. A very, very well-known issue, apparently, because I did a quick Google search, not expecting to find anything, and I found loads of things, which I'm kind of happy about, to be honest. But the finance window, if anyone was to download the latest version of my map, more on that in a minute, you'll notice the finance window is completely blank. And that's because I reverted the game from, I think it was the year 6000 and something, and I took it back to 1995. I made sure that all the vehicles that I had running were time period acceptable. One thing I didn't check was the very high speed rail. So we technically still have that on the network, but it doesn't, like, you can't build new rails. So just bear that in mind when you're working on the high speed network. But yeah, the finance window is completely blank, and apparently, according to Google searches, it won't show anything again until you reach the year that you were in when you reverted the game back. So I'm in 1995 right now, and I've got the game running at a day length factor of, I think, 35, and the year 6000 and something was the last time I saw the finance window. So if you are going to download the map, please don't comment and don't message me saying that the finance window is blank, because I am aware of the problem and I have now told you about the problem. So there's no good telling me. And people do this still. People do this all the time. It's one of the things I hate the most about YouTube is if there's an audio issue. So like 2 weeks ago, there was an audio issue. It wasn't synced up properly. I'm not using Premiere to record the voiceover this week. I'm using Audacity again. And, you know, I'm normally aware. I kind of watch back the video in the background whilst I'm doing other stuff before I upload it, or normally as it's uploading, so sometimes it's too late to fix the problem, which is the case here. I also record my videos in a single take. So 2 weeks ago, what was it, half an hour I think that video was, and I made some pretty good points in that video. I felt I didn't want to have to go and re-record an entire video, and I also couldn't remember what I'd said to know which part of the video was actually missing. So at that point I kind of just tweaked the footage slightly and made the transition between part A and part B match where I said, and here's the transition, and then after that I just left it. I also said that I wouldn't talk too much about what was going on screen, and then spent the entirety of the second half of the episode talking about what was going on screen, which meant that when you watched it, it wasn't in sync. I know that. I was aware of that before the video even went live. I think I mentioned it on Discord. If I didn't, I meant to. You'll be amazed at how many times I mention in advance that there's an issue with a video, and people still comment telling me that there's an issue with the video. And I know that not everyone who watches these videos is on my Discord. Links in the description, by the way. You should definitely join the Discord. But I try and publish it in as many places as possible. The only places where I don't mention it is on things like the OpenTTD Reddit, the OpenTTD Discord, because I don't feel like it's a good idea to mention those things there. But I mention it on my YouTube discussions, if I remember to, and on Discord, and sometimes I tweet about it as well, and on Facebook. Yeah, normally if there's an issue, I already know about it. So some people like to be the winner of an argument, no matter what. Not everyone, and I know in this case that's not what's happening here. It's just people feel like they're being helpful, and I do appreciate that. But just bear in mind that chances are I already know about it. That's absolutely fine though. I do appreciate people pointing those things out. But it used to be like back in the day, when I did Cities in Motion videos, one of the reasons that series ended, Cities in Motion 2, was because it was just getting to the point where people... Like, I don't need a lot of backpatting in real life. I can kind of get by with just, that's cool, that kind of thing. But when I've put a lot of effort into a video and all people do is comment saying your audio's out of sync, your video stuttered at frame 6 in minute 34, whatever it might be. You know, things that really don't matter. And I've watched videos that have had terrible production quality in the past, but have really good content still. And you can kind of put one thing aside in favour of the other. So obviously I would like to watch videos that are well made and also full of good content. But I'm happy to put something on that isn't, you know, the audio might be a bit stuttery or the video itself might be a bit grainy. But if they're talking about interesting topics or if they're doing something interesting on screen still, I don't care what it looks like and I don't care what it sounds like. So long as it's audible and so long as it's viewable, I'll watch it. And I feel like there are a lot of people who just don't care about that right now. And they just, you know, if it's not a perfect 120 FPS, 4K resolution, the crispest audio that you've ever heard, they'll complain. And again, I'm not saying my viewers are like this. You guys aren't like this. But there's a lot of pedants on the internet right now. And it really drives me up the wall. Anyway, just letting you know. Let's go back on topic quickly. The finance window is blank. And I think there may be some other issues with the game as well, little things here and there, most of which I'm aware of. If you do find ones though, this is an exception, please let me know, because apart from the finances window and I think a couple of vehicles don't necessarily do what they're supposed to, and I think the timetables, this isn't to do with reverting the game even, this is just oh god, I've forgotten every word in the English language now. This isn't to do with the timetable. The timetables isn't to do with me reverting the game. It's an issue with scheduled dispatch. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry, I got completely distracted for a second there. So normally it's just things where there's a lot of trains running. So the underground in Gardcity, the overground in Gardcity. The HLR is actually okay, but I have a horrible feeling I'm going to mess that up soon because I'm planning on building like a little branch of the HLR. I'm just finalising the route right now. That will connect GSP up to the HLR network. This is a suggestion from George. We've been going through some data together, which is a lot more fun than I thought it would be, to be fair. And we're coming up with some ideas to do with that. But, yeah, the timetables, I don't know what it is. Vehicles are just bunching. It's almost like scheduled dispatch just doesn't care about the time frames that I've put in. So I was watching this with the underground. The Circle Line on the Underground now has a train that leaves every 10 minutes during the day and every 20 minutes at night. And yet, I sat and watched it for a full, 4 hours last week, because I had the game running on my laptop. And it was basically pumping out a train every, 30 seconds to a minute, which is not what I was timetabling it for. So I have no idea why it's doing that. But I ended up with the entirety of the, is it Befingway Metro Depot, wherever it is that the Circle Line stores its trains. Bear in mind the Lake Line is also supposed to store trains there too, and yet all of the platforms were filled up with Circle Line trains waiting to go on their schedule. And I don't get that. The depot's at the top, it's set to 60 minutes. There's a train meant to leave every 10 minutes. I even changed the wait times at terminus stations so that one train would leave just as the one behind it is arriving. So 10 minutes was the maximum waiting time of the entire line, including depots. And yet it still pumps out a train every, as I said, 30 to 60 seconds. And it just breaks everything because it holds up the Lake Line at the depot. It then holds up every single line that runs through Bankside because all platforms get full of Circle Line trains. And then as you go around the circle, there's just trains queuing up. And when it gets to Shoreham Junction, which is technically the terminus of the line, there was a queue 10 trains long waiting to get into the terminating platform at Shoreham Junction. It's just ridiculous. If anyone knows what the issue is there, whether it's a coding issue which may or may not be able to be fixed, or whether it's my issue, have I done something wrong? I don't think I've done something wrong, but I have noticed that more and more often now scheduled dispatch isn't working how I wanted it to. And it's all to do with dispatch times. It just doesn't follow the rules that I've put in for dispatch times. It just pumps them out whenever. And maybe it's because I have delay turned on, so I think I go with I know for a fact I go with the 2/3 rule. So if there's a train every 30 minutes, then I have a delay of 20 minutes set. could that be the issue? Maybe it's trying to pump out trains to fill that delay window, possibly, and then you end up with 2 trains running quite close together because of that. I don't know. All I know is something about it isn't working properly, and I would quite like to get to the bottom of it, because right now, as I said, George and I are working on data for the network, and we're looking at adding more services on the GWR. But actually, I went over and checked the GWR just now, because I got a message saying that there wasn't a path for one of the HSTs, and Gronville West was blocked. Like, both platforms that have HSTs terminate there were blocked. And according to the departure window, I had 4 services on the same schedule due to arrive and leave the station at the exact same time. I don't know how that's happened, because all of the wait times are locked on the timetable screen. All of the wait times are set on the timetable screen. All of the travel times are set. I control clicked on everything to make sure it was all, it doesn't change. That's a real mystery as to how that's happened. An absolute mystery. Again, if anyone knows, please get in touch, because I do want to get that fixed, because I am planning on running 10-minute headways on busy routes. And we're talking about adding way more services on the major lines out of Gardcity right now. So we're talking about a train leaving the station every 2 minutes, basically, on the fast lines, and maybe every minute on the slow lines. I would like to get this issue fixed, because it is doing my head in, believe me. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling on and bitching about things that I don't like with the game. I am still open to suggestions in the comments for ideas for all forms of transport, actually. Now that I've got the budget thing fixed, like I was saying, I really want to get back into airways. So I asked a couple of weeks ago about people who are more into road than I am. Please do get in touch, and you guys did. We ended up with this project that we're now working on here. But next up, I want to move back to airways again, and I want to build a lot more airports, and I want to have a lot more flights running. So the idea is to set up like a grid system across the entire map. We are going to split the map up into regions at this point as well. So I would like those who offered to help me with the regions of the map, get in touch again. And we're going to start splitting this up, not just for operations reasons, but also for franchising reasons, or management contracts, as I'm now going to refer to them, because I think that is actually a better system. So people will be allocated. So if they end up with road, air, or sea, air is still kind of easier because you just get allocated an airport. But road and sea, or road and water, you'll be allocated a region of the map, and that will be yours to operate. So I'm planning on splitting the whole map into a grid, maybe like 10 by 10, something like that. They're not all going to be the same size, because there are different franchise sizes for different tiers on Patreon. If you want to check out my Patreon, by the way, link is in the description. See which tier speaks to you, shall we say. But yeah, I really want help with that. And I'm loving the fact that I'm crowdsourcing the network right now, which is brilliant. The data models that George is making for me are very, very helpful. It's to do with passenger movements around, in this case, just the GWR network, but I'm going to take that model and use it across the entire network. The pipe's just about to fall out of my window, so if you hear a clunk, that's what that is. There it is. Right. You might not have heard that, actually. I don't think the microphone picked it up. But yeah, I want to crowdsource the network more. I want to get as many people involved in creating the network as possible. So if you are someone who works in the aviation industry, or someone who works in the maritime industry, and you would like to help with both of those, making them as realistic as possible, but also functional, bearing in mind the game mechanics, please do get in touch. Comment down below, or better yet, join the Discord and get in touch that way, because we've got a really good discussion going on right now, where just everything to do with transport pretty much is talked about. It's mainly rail focused, because that's where most of us come from, the rail enthusiasm community, but I'm open to anything. I'm always looking to learn new things. I actually studied mechanical engineering at university, but with the focus on aviation. So we did a whole module on airport operations and aircraft operations, and it was very, very interesting. In fact, very, very interesting, very eye-opening as well, to learn how these things work. So anyone who works in that industry who wants to get involved, definitely want to hear from you guys. Definitely. Anyway, I'm going to start wrapping up this video now, because I've managed to talk for a full 30 minutes pretty much, which I'm very, very happy with, because I didn't actually have any conversation topics when I started recording this, and I've made it all up as we're going along. I'm very good at improv, as it turns out. Not comedy improv, though. I'm terrible at that. But I'm very good at this kind of improv. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And, of course, if you enjoyed the series so far. There will definitely be an episode next week. I can tell you that because I'm still in office next week. I will write that blog post and tell you guys about my job because it's very exciting. Very, very exciting. It kind of came out of the blue as well. So I'll let you guys know all about that. And I've got a very inspirational message to do with that as well, which, I mean, it's going to sound really gushy and horrible, but trust me, there's a message in there. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And, of course, if you enjoyed the series, drop some comments down below with ideas for future episodes, like I said. And please do join the Discord. We're always inviting new people to join. In fact, if you are in the Discord and you know other people who you think would enjoy the Discord, just send them an invite. Or copy the invite from the description down below and just invite them. That's the best thing to do. Everyone's welcome, no matter what. So yeah, let's try and get as many people. I'd like to get to 100 people as soon as possible, and I think we're on 49 right now, off the top of my head. So it might be 39 actually, 39 or 49, one or the other. But yeah, let's try and get as many people as possible, especially as the summer starts to end and people go to uni and things like that. I really want to get more people in. For literally no other reason than that's a good benchmark for like the start of the academic year. But yeah, I'm waffling again. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I think a YouTube purge swept in last week and took a couple of people away, which is a bit of a shame. But I wasn't affected too badly by it, actually, which is kind of cool. I know some people lost like thousands of subscribers, and I think I lost like 3. So I'm really not losing much sleep over that. Also means you guys are all genuine, so yay, go humans. But yeah, if you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. Thank you for your patience as well. I know it's been a bit topsy-turvy, the schedule over the last couple of weeks. Again, all will be explained in this blog post. I will post it on the Discord, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and also in the community tab on YouTube as well. So all of you have the chance to read it. I'll try and keep it short and sweet as well, but I can't make any promises because there is quite a lot to talk about. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, I will see you soon.